I'm gonna give you guys some hope. We're gonna give you some hope, some solutions. But before we do that, gotta drop the intro.
I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need a help. Ooh, I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need a help. Ooh, that's right. I don't need nothing else. That's right.
I'm sharing all this because I ultimately want you guys to be empowered to control your house. None of us should be stressing out about what's going on in the White House or who gets in the White House. We should be focused on what's going on in our house and the variables that we can control. There's immense opportunity here in America. There's immense opportunity here in America. And I'm going to break it down and show you guys something that I'm going through the second time, which is a podcast series by an entrepreneur, tech entrepreneur named Naval, who is Indian, an Indian immigrant, grew up in Jamaica, Queens, right? Darker skinned, grew up in Jamaica, Queens, and is now worth a ton of money. And he created this thing, this podcast. It's like a 3.5-hour podcast. I'm almost gone through it the second time. I inadvertently have been applying a lot of the stuff he teaches in his podcast. It's 3.5 hours long. It's called How to Get Rich Without Being Lucky. And it's brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to link this up for you guys. You can Google it yourself. I saw a video of one of my new favorite YouTubers reacting to it, and I wanted to just show you guys a few of these points. Do with this what you like. But if we're talking about the inequality of wealth and how do we do this to it, it's not going to come from the federal government. I don't care what Bernie Sanders told you. It's not going to come from the Fed. Okay, it's going to come from us becoming more educated, becoming more skilled, and building wealth and passing it down to the next generation. Again, my wife is black. I understand that there's wealth inequality, right? I get it. So I want my kids and my nieces and nephews to be better than I was, right? To pass down more and more generational wealth. My goal is equal opportunity, not equal output. I'm gonna show you guys some of these ideas. This isn't by any means an exhaustive, but this is Graham Stephan, who is a popular YouTuber. He talks about financial literacy, real estate, reacting to this Naval tweet storm that turned into a podcast that you guys should all go watch if you care to actually build wealth and become wealthy and successful. Understand that ethical wealth creation is possible. If you secretly despise wealth, it will elude you. So the first thing you have to acknowledge, and I don't care if you're an artist, I don't care if you're an entrepreneur, a designer, the first thing we have to start with and acknowledge is that ethical wealth creation is possible. Some of you guys get triggered when I mention the word capitalism and you attach capitalism with crony capitalism, corporatism, systemic racism, all these other things. We'll just get rid of that term for the sake of this discussion. Let's just talk about ethical wealth creation. We first have to acknowledge that it is possible. If you don't believe it's possible, it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't think you can build wealth, if you don't think you can do it, you're right. That's just how it goes. So let's just first start with acknowledging that it is possible. Now let's check out Graham Stephan. Shout out to Graham Stephan for this video. I'm so happy he did this breakdown. I'm doing a breakdown of his background, but it's oddly enough, I'm literally listening to this in real time for the second time. Understand that ethical wealth creation is possible. If you secretly despise it, it will elude you. Now let's check out Graham Stephan's point about this.
This one is incredibly true, and I never fully understood it until I began growing an audience on YouTube. But I'm constantly shocked at how many people believe that in order to make money, you have to take advantage of another person or another.
Did you guys catch that? How many of you secretly believe that in order for you to build wealth, you're doing it at the expense of somebody else, right? If you're going into it with that mentality that someone has to lose in order for you to win, what's the point? Right? Or, I talk about this a lot, if you're going into it with the mentality that, oh, there's the secret Illuminati and anybody that becomes successful is evil, you're going to lose. Out the rip, if that's your mentality, right? So,
in other words, for every $1 you make, someone else loses $1, and that's absolutely not the case at all. The world of money is not a zero-sum game, and your gain is not at the expense of someone else, and I believe in most industries, you are paid in direct proportion to the amount of value you provide.
You are paid in direct proportion to the amount of value you provide. You are paid in direct proportion to the amount of value you provide. What does that mean? I talk a lot about scarce skill sets. Anybody with 2 arms and 2 legs can clean. So guess what? A cleaning job isn't going to pay as much as the person that figures out, my buddy Timothy, who just got out of prison recently. I'm trying to get him on the channel. You've probably seen him on Belief's channel. Timothy got out of prison a couple years ago, built a huge cleaning business. He doesn't really do the cleaning as much anymore. He's hired people, but he had to figure out how to build the business, how to market the business, how to get the bonds, how to get the insurance, how to hire the employees, how to create the systems. He's going to get paid more than the person that he hires to clean. Why? Because anybody can clean. Anybody can wash dishes. Anybody can flip fries. But the person who is creating the business, the person that has the scarce skill set is going to do better. By the way, turn the notification on for this channel. Give this video a quick thumbs up. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business to gain your financial freedom. You're not going to gain wealth by renting out your time. I'm trying to move more and more away from doing one-on-one consulting or from doing one-on-one things or even doing paid features, because I'm really just renting out my time. I'm investing into people, and I'm investing into building up my systems and my businesses. And I'm taking that money and I'm pouring it back into the market and eventually pouring it into real estate. Even the most successful doctors or lawyers don't really crack into true wealth creation until they become owners and partners in their businesses. Why? Because the more money a doctor or a lawyer make, the more their expenses go up. It's called doc-itis. Dave Ramsey talks about it all the time. Because if you're used to struggling and hustling to get through college and get through law school and you graduate, you got hundreds of thousands of dollars that you feel like you can reward yourself, so you go get the nicer car, you go get the nicer house, you go get the nicer clothes, and your cost of living creeps up, and then you're still living paycheck to paycheck. You guys be surprised how many people I know who live paycheck to paycheck that makes six figures, and they're just irresponsible with money because they don't understand this thing. Now, if you can imagine, if you could make $100,000 a year but live off $20,000 a year or $30,000 a year.
Again, this goes back to the practice that you will not get rich if all you ever do is trade your time for money without.
This is huge. You will not get rich trading your time for money. Guys, get a hold of this. Now, what does that mean? You should eventually develop a scarce skill set to generate more money for yourself so that you can invest in your businesses. Meaning that if somebody can learn how to take photos, learn how to do video, learn how to create, you take those same skills, you pour them into your own businesses, you're going to be more likely to be successful, but you could still make more money doing that for other people than you can working a Joe job or trading your time for money. You guys see how that, right? Meaning that if all my businesses failed right now, I would still have the skill sets to pull up and help somebody else get their YouTube channel launch, get their clothing brand launch, right? Get their music career off the ground. And those skill sets, those scarce skill sets, are what's going to always allow me to build wealth. Even if I'm not doing it for my own business, a lot of times it's better to learn on other people, learn on other businesses, make more money than you would working a job, than take those same skills, pour them back into yourself, right? So essentially, you're starting trading time for money, but at some point, you have to move away from that and start investing into the businesses and owning pieces of something.
Using that money to invest. True wealth creation very rarely happens while working a 9-to-5 job or any job where the only way you can make more money is to work more hours, and that's it.
True wealth creation seldom happens working a 9-to-5 job or where you can make more money working more hours. This is a bar.
The issue we're all faced with is that there's only 24 hours in a day, so beyond a certain point, it becomes impossible to get ahead by working more hours because eventually you hit that 24-hour mark and you just can't work any more hours. But when you begin investing what you earn, your money can begin working independently from the time you put into it. So owning assets and equities like stocks and real estate or a part of a business is what's going to make you wealthy, not necessarily working more hours. Now, if you're confused,
did you guys catch that? So if I make $500 for a verse, and then I take that $500, I park it into a Robinhood ETF. I love the QQQ ETF. It's in the description. You guys can go sign up for Robinhood, get yourself 2 free stocks when you invest $100. If you do that, if I park $500 and it's getting me, let's just call it 10-20% a year, that money is working for me in my sleep. You guys see what I'm saying? It's creating. If I make a beat or I write a song, I get that song on Music Bed, I get that song on Spotify. It's working for me while I sleep. It's an asset. It's generating revenue in my sleep. This is why real estate is great, right? Because you can own a property and it can generate, and that real estate also appreciates in value. Why money depreciates because of inflation, real estate appreciates.
Says you will get rich by giving society what it wants, but does not yet know how to get at scale. This, I have to say, is the only point I both agree with, because it's true, but I also disagree with it to a certain extent. He comes at this from the perspective of someone who invests in these multi-billion-dollar startups that change the way we run society. And from that perspective, he's right. However, I don't believe this is the only way to build wealth, and I think saying this might be intimidating for a lot of people by giving them the impression that they have to go big if they want to get rich.
Right? Absolutely. You don't have to go big to get rich. Giving people what they want that they don't know they have yet. I'll give you guys a really practical example. We're about to go into this Fan Love Friday stream, right? My Patreon, Fan Love Friday, I review music. I was able to reverse engineer and figure out that the thing that people wanted most from me was people who were successful and making a full-time income, giving people feedback on their music and tips on how to become a full-time artist, right? And I started this before Rapzilla or No Jump or anybody was doing it. I started this back in 2016 over Twitter. Did it on Facebook, and now we have this real clean platform where people call in through a Zoom call, and it's super dope, right? So we're about to get into that actually right after this stream. Why is that significant? Because I gave people something that they didn't know they wanted. And in that, I'm able to scale that. More importantly, I'm able to help people I see a ton of potential in. And those people end up being the evangelists for the community. People didn't know they needed an online virtual community to meet other musicians, right? People didn't know that, but it was a need I saw years and years ago. I was able to build it up, and the word of mouth, right? And the word of mouth and the cosigns I get are way more valuable than the time I pour into it. And that's going to give me a platform to set up and launch some courses to help people do this more and more. So you don't have to just do something big. You don't have to just do something big. Oh, I got to find the next Facebook. I got to figure out the next Instagram. No. You just need to figure out what your contribution is and what do people want, but they don't know they want. We think of what people want. We always think, oh, we need an iPhone. Like, yes, that's Steve Jobs. That's his contribution. He solved something that we all needed, didn't know we needed. But we could do this on much smaller scales, right? And I guarantee you, anybody that's emerging and is blowing up in a business right now, they're capitalizing on niche markets. So let's keep watching. The internet has massively broadened the possible space of careers. Oh, I wish I had my explosion sound. Most people haven't figured this out yet. The internet has broadened the possible space of careers. Most people haven't figured this out yet. That is such a bar. Guys, it's still early. It's still early. Most people haven't figured out that you can start a business selling. You could do it all from the crib using internet, using Instagram, using Facebook. Most people haven't figured this out yet. It's still early.
Obviously, yes, this is very true, and I really believe the internet has leveled the playing field in terms of who can make money and from where. It's no longer
The internet has leveled the playing field. So many of us are complaining and we don't see the opportunity. I'll give you guys a really practical example. My man Belief in Fatherhood, right? 200,000 subscribers. He was just on Oprah. Myself, I'm not at that level with the numbers. I got 1/10 of that, but I make a comfortable living doing what I love to do on my own terms. Guys, if it wasn't for the internet, I would be working with adults with developmental disabilities, which, by the way, I found extremely fulfilling and amazing. One of the coolest jobs I've had. Just paid crap. And we were poor, but we still were able to use that to get out of debt. That's what I was doing from like 2009 to 2012, right? I would still be doing that. And Belief would still be driving a cab, except there are no more cabs because Uber came over and took over. Uber and Lyft destroyed the cab industry, pretty much, at least out here. You guys see what I'm saying? That 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, guys like me and him, creative people, would not have had the same opportunity because of phones, because of technology, because of YouTube, because of Instagram. This is so key for us to get a hold of. We keep missing it. Why did I stop? Yeah, because of the money. Because if I want to buy a home or raise a child, I can't do it making $12 an hour, especially in California. 100% that's why I stopped, right? Because I think the work was fulfilling, but it wasn't It wasn't sustainable. I couldn't raise Levi on $12 an hour. And my value was that my wife would stay home. That's a huge value of ours. You might say, oh, that's a patriarchal mindset. No. My wife, we value that, right? We value my wife staying home. I'm home a lot. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I stopped doing that, because I needed to make more money.
Longer dependent that you live in a certain location to open a business. You no longer need a physical storefront if you want to sell a product. And as long
You no longer need a physical storefront. Y'all don't know the bars he's dropping right now.
As long as you could provide a product or a service to someone else and find a way to show people the value of what you create, you could make money. It's going to take time for the rest of our society to catch on to this, because overall, it's still relatively uncharted territory.
You should go watch Graham's entire video. Before that, you guys should also go buy yourself some merch, kingsdreament.com. We have a few of these limited edition vinyls left. Politically agnostic t-shirts for $22. Yeshua's Dream t-shirts for $22. Pre-order on that is up right now. Let me do this last point, and this is, I think, one of the most important points in this thing. Learn to sell, learn to build. If you can do both, you will be unstoppable. Learn to sell, learn to build. If you can do both, you will be unstoppable. A lot of us know how to build stuff, but we don't know how to sell. If you could build something great, a great service, a great product, and you learn how to sell it, you're going to be unstoppable. And let me break this down.
First, let's talk about learning how to sell. If you cannot effectively articulate the benefits of what you have to offer to another person, they will never use it, even if it's the most revolutionary product of the decade. If you want to build wealth and make money for pretty much anything out there, you have to learn how to sell. Whether you like it or not, life is one big sales game. Like anytime you go to a job interview, you're selling yourself. Or anytime you're in a negotiation, you're trying to sell your vision. If you invent a product, you have to find a way to get an investor or a customer interested to buy that product. Nearly everything we do at its core.
Now, he says something. You have to find an investor or customer interest to buy that product. I'm not a big fan of investors. I'm not a big fan of using other people's money. So for me, this has been huge. I had to learn how to sell stuff, because I never wanted to use other people's money, because I'm a debt-free Dave Ramsey guy, right? So I had to learn how to get customers to fund my ventures. Right? This is, I learned this from Seth Godin's Startup School. That's an amazing podcast series you should watch as well. I had to learn how to get customers to fund my ventures, because I learned to build and I had to learn to sell. And the better I got at building, the better I got at selling. I'm still learning a lot about selling. I'm still learning a lot about building, and I'm able to scale and consistently grow my revenue streams. Specific knowledge is knowledge that you cannot be trained for. Society can train you. It can train someone else and replace you. You can't learn in school. It's more of an apprenticeship. It's more of working with somebody hands-on. Way more likely to connect with an entrepreneur, watch them, intern for them for free, and learn how to be an entrepreneur than you are to learn that in business college, right? That is specific knowledge. That is specific knowledge. And I would add to that specific knowledge with the specific scarce skill set. I have a specific scarce skill set on how I set all these cameras up, and how I got the color grade, and how I got my YouTube pop in, and all these different things, my thumbnails. So it's a combination of specific knowledge of the topics I'm talking about, right? I have specific knowledge about being politically agnostic. I have specific knowledge about capitalism, free market, entrepreneurship, because I've done it. And then I also have specific knowledge on how to set up multiple cameras with multiple video switchers to do it live, then to go into the YouTube editor, chop up these videos into smaller condensed formats, and my YouTube revenue shot up and my subscribers shot up. Specific knowledge, specific scarce skills. And people are constantly reaching out to me about these specific scarce skills that I can actually charge for this, right? Like I could charge to go and set up people's live streams. I don't want to do that because I don't want to trade my time for money. I know I said a whole lot. I want to know what you guys think in this process, because I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. I'm going to link up Naval's podcast that goes in depth on all these concepts. I recommend all you guys listen to it, because I feel like all of us, if we're able-bodied, if we're of sound mind, we can all build wealth. We can all start products, and maybe we'll be successful to different degrees. But this is the big idea, guys. The big idea here is what happens in your house, what happens in your home, what happens in your mind is way more impactful than what happens in the White House. It just means that you're more likely to change your family tree, that you're more likely to build generational wealth, that you're more likely to level up and to experience the things that maybe you're hoping for, whether that's wealth, whether that's financial peace, whether that's freedom, whether that's being able to come and go as you want. All of these things are directly correlated to you and what decisions you make, not if Joe Biden or Donald Trump wins president, because that's a hot mess. That's a hot mess, and I don't really care. Like, I really don't care. I care more so for other people and how the media will spin it and if there'll be more tension and uprisings, but it doesn't affect me. It really doesn't. I don't care whose policy. I might have to pay a little bit more taxes under Biden or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, man, it's about the decisions we make for our homes. And being able to make good decisions, to be smart, to get education, to get information, and then hire people and help other people do it so that we could all level up.